light got to the top of the stairs, it was very bright. And then my mother just stepped out of the light into the bedroom.
This is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide and we see God. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here for this one. It is episode 247. I'm your host, Trapper Jack, and I was just moments ago chuckling. A chortle. Was it a chuckle or was it a chortle? Is that a chuckle or a chortle? Yeah, well, anyway. About how do you not believe? That makes me laugh. See? How do you not believe? I was just reading near-death experiences alone. Something like 5%. It's estimated that 5% of citizens in the U.S. have had a near-death experience. 5%. That's like 17 million people. And of the people who have seemingly clinically died and then come back, of those, something like 18% had something happen, a life review, something happened. 18%. And it's like, wow. So I thought, okay, how do you not believe?
I mean, everything was just white. It was a man who came forward and walked up to me, and he said something to me.
So let's start with Pam. Yeah. Hallelujah. How you doing there, Pamela?
I'm doing good, doing great.
And Pam reminds us that we are not alone. We've never been alone, ever.
Well, I guess I will start when I was really young. The first memory I have, honestly, of anything to do with God and angels is I remember being in a crib in my brother's bedroom. And my brother's bedroom was situated where he had like a roof, like a window that looked out over the roof. And when we got older, we used to climb out that window and suntan on that roof. But I remember I was about 2 years old and I was standing in my crib. And the next thing I knew, I was out on the roof facing our backyard. And there was this glowing entity, like just beautiful. And it was a female. And it was just this big, beautiful glowing, like almost like the sun. And she said to me, "Don't worry about anything. Don't be scared. We're here to watch over you. You're safe." Basically, that's, I remember that like it just happened yesterday. I will never forget it. And the next thing you know, I was in my crib again.
This is when you said you were 2.
I was 2. I can remember being in my crib. I can remember standing in my crib looking at the window. And the next thing you know, I was out on that roof looking towards the backyard. And she was facing me. I didn't see any form, like any body. It was just a big glowing face almost.
We've talked before about how often when we're young, up to about age 4 or so, we're still kind of have that connection to heaven. That's why we don't have a lot of memories before age 4 or 5, because we start becoming more a part of this world. So the fact that you remember something that when you were 2, I'll ask you this: how do you know it wasn't a dream? Some kind of it was. How do you know? How do you know?
It was just so real. It's one of those things that just stand out. It sticks out like it just felt very real. And also, I felt that love and that warmth from her. I just know it was real.
How do you tie yourself to that now? How does that help you now?
I've had a lot of crazy experiences through my life, and I still look back at that. I really do. And, I do have fears more than I used to. I have more anxiety nowadays about traveling and stuff, but I try to go back to that and remember, what was told to me. I do. I try to remember, okay, you're protected. You're okay.
Yeah.
You're here for a reason,
All right. Pam has her angel. All right. And you have yours right there. Oh, look how lovingly your angel's looking at you. Could we get a picture? All right. So life is going along, and then we are quickly reminded in Pam's life that death can happen. And you say you had a near-death experience too.
I did. I wasn't driving yet. I was a crazy teenager, and ended up having toxic shock syndrome I was the first one ever to get it from Playtex tampons. And they didn't know what to do with me, and I nearly died. And I told my friend I thought I was going to die. And I do remember sitting down in our bathroom, like on the floor, facing the wall. And the next thing you know, the wall opened up and it was bright white. I mean, everything was just white. There was no distinguishing between the horizon and the ground and the sky. There was nothing. It was just white. And there were all these people there surrounding what looked like a ship or like a plane, like an airplane sort of, but it wasn't. I don't know what it was. But there was one person, I think it might have been Jesus. It was a man who came forward and walked up to me, and he said something to me. And to this day, I don't remember what he said to me, honestly. I just know he came and said something to me. And then I was back in the bathroom and I was, I did almost die then. I had a fever of 106 for 14 hours and I was in and out of lucidity and I was in the hospital for a week and they didn't know what to do with me, but I'll never forget that. I remember very vividly exactly what I experienced. And I feel like those people that were there were relatives that I knew. I felt like they were there for me. I wasn't scared. I felt warmth. I felt comfortable. And then I felt, I just wasn't scared.
Have you ever heard what sounds like crickets? Because sometimes near-death experiences
Yeah,
are...
I'm sorry. That's my phone. I keep telling it. Somebody's trying. I'm going to have to silence
I wasn't sure if I was having an experience too. It's crickets sometimes come with NDEs. I've always been aware of that. But this sounds like it was really a short period of time too. This sounds like it was just like a few seconds. Yes, no?
It felt like it was 5 minutes. It did.
Oh.
It really did. It felt like I was just there and I was just standing there in front of all these people.
Did you feel welcomed by people? What'd you feel?
I felt very welcome. I did. I felt like I belonged there. I felt welcome. And then this gentleman came up to me and he was big and tall and beautiful dark hair, like Jesus. And he came up to me and he said something to me. And I really wish to this day I could remember or know what he said. Maybe I wasn't meant to know. I don't know.
Maybe. Or was he just saying that it's time to go back? Was it like, were you back as soon as that was said?
I was back as soon as that was said.
Yeah.
Whatever he said to me, I went back.
Okay.
And I was back in the bathroom again.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Where do we jump to from here?
Okay. Let me see. I have some notes here.
Where we go to from here is another example that even though we may be separated from our body, we're leaving that behind. Our conscious mind is going somewhere.
When I was a little girl, I went to a camp in Woodstock, Connecticut. And I was about 8 at that time. And I remember having a dream while it was either at camp or after camp, somewhere around that camp. And I dreamt that I was floating above a dock, the dock that goes over a lake that people walk out onto. And there was a boy laying down face up with his feet towards the water and his head towards the shore. And there were a bunch of people around him. And he was floating next to me and he was telling them, I'm okay. I'm right here. I'm okay. And it was just one of those strange dreams, you just remember it. I went online and looked up Camp Woodstock, drowning. And there was a boy in 1970 who died at Camp Woodstock. He drowned in the lake. So I don't know if it was one of those strange dreams that connected me to him or something at the time or what. But that was just a very strange occurrence I had.
Wow. It's almost like you're having a dream and inserting yourself into somebody's near-death experience almost because he's looking at himself.
Yes.
Except it's not a near-death experience because he obviously died, but you're
right.
kind of, that, what if, wow.
Yes.
Why, the question always is, why would you be given that?
I don't know. It might've been, I think, I did go to that camp. So it might've been when I was at camp because it happened. I look back and it happened about 3 years before I went to that camp. So I don't know.
That is interesting. All right, where do we go to next, Pam? How many times in these episodes have we heard these incredible examples of God sharing his love with us by letting us know that our loved ones are just fine?
My brother, I was with my brother when he passed away. He was young. He was only 54. And it was really hard for me to watch him. He passed away from lung cancer. And when I came home that night, I was laying in bed sleeping and I woke up in the middle of the night, like I often do, around 3, like a lot of people wake up. And I remember waking up and I had this light on my chest, on my shirt, this glowing light. And I remember trying to brush that light off my shirt, thinking, what is that? And then sometimes I'll grab a t-shirt to go to sleep in. And I wasn't sure, maybe it was one of those glow in the dark t-shirts or something, but it was a light on my chest. And I finally went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and I looked down and my shirt was just a normal plain shirt. So I believe my brother visited me after he passed, maybe to tell me he was okay. I woke up at 3 a.m. and there was this light on my shirt.
I gotcha.
Yes. So I take that as a sign from my brother.
Yeah, and 3 a.m., we hear this over and over again, 3 a.m., 3 p.m., Divine Mercy Hour, that the hour that Christ died. A lot of things happen in that 3 o'clock hour.
He did.
And you just took that as kind of a, I'm okay, I'm gone. I mean, just kind of like a goodbye.
It must have been. It must have been a kind of like a goodbye, you know? Yes. So I have prayed for him, and I do. Um, I asked for a sign recently that he's made it to heaven, actually. And the day that I was talking out loud to God and saying, Lord, I just pray that Jeff has made it to heaven, and I would love to have a sign. Now, my brother's nickname was Feathers when he was a kid because his hair used to stick straight up in the back of his head, and my uncle named him that. So, I did say a feather would be a nice surprise. So, my daughter, who doesn't often just randomly buy me stuff out of the blue, called me that afternoon and told me that she had found this really cool bookmark that she thought I would like and decided to buy it for me. And it was this huge purple feather bookmark. Actually, I have it
Same day.
that same day.
What a nice sign. What a beautiful
And my
sign
brother
for
was
you.
a writer. He was a writer, and he was very flamboyant and stuff. So this is actually really apropos for him,
Yeah.
But this was a pretty big sign for me that he's okay.
That's a huge sign. That's out of nowhere. Out of nowhere.
We talk to God, but we don't always have that faith, and we really need to have the most faith that God is always around. God is there. When you put your faith in him and you ask him for things, he answers our prayers. No matter what, he answers our prayers. We just have to have that faith.
And speaking of feathers, Pam and her mom were having one of those conversations of, well, if you could come back as, something else, what would it be? A butterfly. And her mom said, no, I'd come back as a bird. I just want to fly, that freedom of being a bird and everything.
She had COPD for many years, and I knew, the time was coming. And so I said, okay, well, then maybe she'll be sending me feathers as a sign, kind of thing. I had a gym. I owned a gym, and shortly after she passed. So this one day I had really vacuumed the floors and cleaned the gym, and I had locked the door and gone to get myself some lunch. And when I came back, there on my rug, on the inside of my gym, right in front of my door, was this huge white feather. So I used to get feathers everywhere. Like in my pocket, I would find a white feather, and, all these strange places you'd never expect them. In the laundry, just in the floorboard of the car, it would show up. So that was one of the most memorable ones where there's no way. I mean, the whole place was locked up and nobody was in there when I left.
Most people get pennies and dimes. You're getting feathers.
Yeah. And it's a funny thing you say that. Recently, I actually said, it has been a while. I haven't seen any feathers lately. Maybe I would love to see some pennies. The same day I asked for some pennies. That afternoon, I went to the grocery store, went to pay for my groceries. And the girl said to me, I'm sorry, I don't have any change. Can I just give you all pennies? And I was like, sure, that doesn't happen very often. And they are absolutely pristine. Every single one of them is brand new.
We might be getting into the prophetic here, but at this particular time in Pam's life, she wasn't all that deep into her Christian faith. At that time, she wouldn't even know who Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, was, appearing to Mary and all that. But this one night, a dream.
So I really wasn't aware of who Gabriel was, but I had this dream that I was somewhere in Europe, which I've never been to Europe, walking down a cobblestone road with these little baskets, weaved baskets with fruits and vegetables, and just walking outside. And next to me was this very huge, tall gentleman. I remember he was like, I knew him so well, like he was my brother, but it wasn't my brother. He was telling me something, because when I woke up the next morning, I turned over to my husband and said, I was just visited by Gabriel. And I don't know why that came out of my mouth, because I didn't really know who Gabriel was or what he was about. Ironically, I told my son about it. A couple of weeks ago, my son asked me, what was the date that you had that dream again? And I told him, and I can't remember the exact date. It was like the 20th or 21st of a month. I don't know. But he looked back and said, it's really weird, because they're saying that the horn of Gabriel was heard around the world that morning. So I don't know.
Do you remember the year?
It was like, I want to say about 8 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around 8, maybe 10 years ago at the most, but yeah.
We were at a nearby amusement park, and it was kind of a big deal too. We had a similar situation that this was not a dream, but there were a number of us at this amusement park, and everyone was looking up. We were on this tram, and people were going, look at there's an angel, and you could see an angel in the sky. The blind guy was having a hard time finding it, but everyone else in the tram was going, "Oh my gosh, it's an angel!" And kind of sideways with a horn, literally with a horn.
Really?
It happened. It actually happened shortly before 2001 9/11, and we always wondered if there was some kind of connection there because it was not too long before, like some kind of warning announcement. Those things are usually warnings.
Very interesting. And it was all over the world, heard all over the world. Gabriel's horn, some weird sound, the sound of the horn. I just had my notes, to make sure I didn't forget some things. I have so many, but I always wonder if they're worthy, so to speak, because there's so many great things you have on your show that I listen to that I go, oh my gosh, like the person finding the keys after praying. I did that not too long ago with my husband. He was stomping around, panicking, couldn't find his keys. And, he looked 14 times in every place. And I prayed out loud to God that he needed his keys and could he find them right now. And right when I said that, he said, found them.
Yeah.
And that really, really kind of hits home with, yes, he's listening to our prayers.
Yeah. And usually it's, wait, I already looked there. Wait, I could have sworn I looked there, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What is your prayer life on a day-to-day basis?
Every single day, every single thing, and everything I do, I try to I pray that God will put my words in his mouth every day. And
or his words in your mouth, you mean?
His words in my mouth.
There you go. Okay. I just want to make sure the words are coming out of the right mouth. Okay, good.
No, I want his words in my mouth. And I want to see people through God's eyes. And I do try to do that every day. But every single morning, I put him first. And when I don't put him first and sit down and pray to God in the morning or read the Bible, I feel guilty now. So I do make sure I do it. And my husband, before he leaves for work, we actually pray together. And we pray for everybody, and we pray for just that, for God for us to see everyone through God's eyes.
Good for you.
Yes, I do. I try to do that every day.
Beautiful.
And listening to your podcast is really grounding me. I listen to it constantly, every chance I get, because it does pull me back to where I need to be.
It's easy to fade, and then you hear these stories, and they lift all of us. They lift me too. Trust me, they lift me as well.
They really do. Absolutely.
So when you wrap up all of yours, what's your takeaway? What's your takeaway for you, Pam?
The takeaway would be look at people through God's eyes and through Jesus's eyes. Try to speak to people the way Jesus would speak to you, and try to have your faith 100%. God is there with us all the time. Have our faith when we do pray. That means the difference. If you do have your faith, I see the difference.
And maybe we finish up too with the words of your angel back when you were 2 years old, because that should be reassurance for all of us. This is heaven's message through your guardian angel, and the angel said,
"Do not fear, do not worry. We are always here with you. We will be watching over you."
Thanks, Pam. That is one wise angel you have. I might need to hear that one more time before we're done here. Let's pause right about here. Then more of this walk through life, death, afterlife, messages, prophetic, dreams. Oh, we got a dream, an awakening dream coming up for Kathy in just a moment. Quick Patreon shout out. Thank you, Ashley Martin. Thanks, Ashley, for joining the Patreon family and helping all of this go. You are the fuel. These stories are the fuel to make it happen each week. And I thank you so much, Ashley. I was talking to Linda a while back before she joined the Patreon family, and she was telling me why she was going to join the Patreon family.
And so I searched for angel stories and found your podcast, and it's changed my life. I can't stop smiling nowadays.
I can't stop smiling.
I can't stop smiling because every story that I listen to on your podcast reminds me of something that God did for me and the miracles that I've seen in my own life. And so I will get emotional, I'll tell you that, Trapper, because realizing the truth that, that we forget to recognize every day. And so just recognizing that truth that, I'm not the only one that God speaks to, or I love how you say the Bible hasn't ended. It's still continuing to live. I love that. Well, you listen to it while I'm driving anywhere to go. I listen to your podcast then, but when I lay down, I always put it on, and within 5 minutes, I'm asleep.
I put more people to sleep, I'm telling you.
I love it, though.
Thanks, Linda. To join the family, just go to patreon.com, search for Trapper Jack. Or you can come here to episode 247 at touchedbyheaven.net and click your way through. All right, let's get back to this walk through life and then some here at Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Yeah. All right. While Kathy now prepares herself to talk to me. Not that you have to prepare. I mean, it's not like you have to comb your hair or brush your teeth or anything.
Oh, well, I usually comb my hair, so we're good.
Well, good. That's awesome.
I didn't even know about podcasts. My daughter was listening to them, and I said, "Oh, help me find some." And I started thinking, "Oh, what can I look at?" And I started thinking about this dream I had about my mother, and I thought, well, maybe something like that exists. So I started just Googling, angels or dreams and all that kind of thing. And your podcast came up, as well as some others that I vaguely listen to, but I really enjoy your Christian based theme. So I've really enjoyed it.
This is, boy, talk about how a dream can wake you up again on this road of life, death, messages, and all of that. Kathy has a story here. Now, she grew up Methodist, but not deep into her faith, and it took a dream to give her a course direction.
Even though I believed, it was like it made it much more personal, where I really believed. This happened about 6 years ago. My father had been diagnosed with cancer. My parents were in their 80s. I'm an only child, so I thought, well, I'm going to have to pack my bags and go where they are and help them through this. And in the meantime, while my father was in the hospital, my mother got sick and died. She was like such a believer. I remember growing up, she would always say, "Oh, I can't wait to meet my Lord and Savior." And I'd say, "Well, I can." There's only one way to do that. It was about 3 months after my mother died, and I was still at my parents' house. I was with my father, taking care of him, and I went to bed one night, and I started dreaming that I was sitting on the floor next to the bed where I was actually sleeping. And I had an awareness that someone was coming up the stairs. And I wasn't afraid. I was just curious about, oh, I wonder who's coming up here, even though I knew I was home alone with my father and he couldn't come up there. So I looked toward the door. I looked at the bedroom door where the steps are outside of it, and I could see a very faint light at the bottom of the stairs. And I could hear someone coming up the stairs. I could hear the actual footsteps. And with each step this person took, the light was getting brighter the closer to the top of the stairs they got. So when the light got to the top of the stairs, it was very bright, but I could look at it and it didn't hurt my eyes. And I still wasn't scared. And then my mother just stepped out of the light into the bedroom. And she walked around to the other side of the bed from where I was sitting on the floor. And my first thought, and she made eye contact with me, and we never lost eye contact. I do remember that. And she was just beaming, and she had a pep to her step. Like she was like an elderly arthritic woman who walked sort of bent over and shuffled in her human life, but she just bounced out of this light like she had so much energy and youth, and she looked a lot younger. I would say in her 40s. But as I thought, oh, I was so happy to see her, I wanted to jump up and just hug her. And I just had this feeling that no words exchanged between us, but it was like a thought, a telepathic thing where I knew that I either couldn't touch her or I wasn't allowed to. And I felt like the bed was a barrier between us. So I knew when she walked in the room, the way she was looking at me, I knew that she loved me and she missed me and she was so happy to see me. And then I knew from her, somehow telepathically, that my father was going to die soon, and it was okay. It was part of God's plan, and I wasn't to concern myself about it. It was almost like it's none of your business.
My
This is
plan,
what
not
I
yours.
hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, don't concern yourself about it. It's none of your business. This is the way it's supposed to be. So the next thing I knew, I don't know how I got there, but I was laying back in the bed where I was actually sleeping, and I saw her leaning over me. I didn't see her come over there. It was just all of a sudden she was leaning over me, and I felt like she was going to kiss me on the forehead. But before she kissed me, I saw a flash of light and she was just gone. Um, and the minute she disappeared, I felt hands on top of my hands. And it just filled me with such a peace, calming, relaxing feeling like I've never felt before. I've never been that calm. And I woke up and I was very, very calm. Still, I that feeling stayed with me for the rest of the day. All day I was thinking about what was this that happened, because it usually when I have a dream, I wake up and it's sort of convoluted and you have a good idea of what it was about, but not really. And everything was just so clear to me about what happened in this dream. And I decided I wasn't going to tell my father about it. Number one, I didn't. I certainly was going to leave the part out where he was getting ready to die. But as he was going to bed, I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I had the strangest dream about your mother last night." And I thought, "Oh my gosh.
Here we
Oh
go.
my
Yeah,
gosh."
yeah.
So I just said, "Well, what'd you dream about? That's kind of cool. I hope it was a good dream." And he said, "Well, she was just standing here in the bedroom." And he said, "She looked like she did when I met her in high school. Same hair, same kind of clothes she would have worn to school. And she looked like she was 16, 17 years old. And she just said, everyone on earth is miserable, but everyone in heaven is happy." And he said, then she just left. And I just couldn't believe it. So then I wound up telling him, "Oh, well, I had a good dream about her last night too, where she seemed really happy." And he died 6 weeks later. And it really, I mean, even though we still grieve, and I did still grieve, and I still do, and I miss them terribly, it just gave me, I guess, the satisfaction that they're still there. There's something there. They're fine. We're just separated by time. I think one day we'll all be together again. Um, but that was it. I've never had anything like that happen before or since. Um, so it was just odd. And I don't know. I asked that I could have another dream like that again or visit or whatever it was, but it hasn't happened. I'll keep asking.
Well, I mean, do you need more? I mean, that's. I mean, you both got the dream. You both got a little glimpse of heaven. Mom's okay. We're waiting for dad. Dad goes, and it's like that's life, right? That's all part of life, and
Right.
they're more
And
alive than they were here. I mean, they're more alive than
right.
we're alive. We have no idea. We're so veiled, unfortunately. We're so veiled about that.
Yeah, it's like it's just there, but you can't touch it, right?
Mm.
It's or I guess we do touch it in a way, but
Well, it's like how many
it,
signs do we need? I mean, as you know, by listening to the podcast, there's just so many experiences, so many touches of heaven here, and glimpses of this and that, and what we're about. And the purpose of the podcast is to help in the waking up process. I was one of those
well,
sleeping Christians too that just kind of went, "Oh, this is going on now. What?"
yes, I agree. It certainly made me feel closer to God, closer to I feel like I've always thought of God as in some far off place. He's there, but who knows where it is. But now I have a better relationship, a closer relationship with God. I talk to him a lot more. I put the time aside every day to sit and pray and meditate and think about things and read scripture and all that. It definitely woke me up,
What
and it
changed
made
for
me,
you? How did it change you?
I just feel like God is inside of me, not somewhere else. if that makes any sense.
Total sense. Yeah.
And I feel like the people that I miss are not really gone. They're just in a different dimension. Wait, and just with time, we'll see each other again. I don't know. I just feel like it's a deeper purpose. I don't know what my purpose is, but I feel like I'll find out eventually. So I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I do feel a deeper relationship with God. I talk to him a lot more, and I don't talk with in the church it's thou this and now that, and now I just talk to God like he's a friend or just a neighbor sitting here talking to me.
Yeah, it's hard to talk to somebody with all the these and thous.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, thee telleth me thoueth about whateth I need to knoweth. And it's like, come on. Yeah, I think he knows. I think he knows how we speak. He certainly knows our thoughts, and that's the whole idea. That's just part of the daily conversation, right? Make him real. He is real.
Right.
Yeah. So that's beautiful. No, that's great. You got an awakening. You got messages. Your father helped you with that as well. Closer relationship. That's just, it's kind of a redirect along the way. Wake up, a redirect, and you're closer to God, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's funny because you growing up and well, my whole life really, I'd see my mother talking to God and her little whispers and things, and it took her dying for me to realize, oh, this is real, because it used to annoy me when I would see her doing that. I don't know why. It just
Well, it's like, come on, Mom, get a little touch of reality. Who are you talking to? There's no one else here but us chickens. Come on, what are you doing
I
here?
guess I
know?
guess so.
I'm not sure where that phrase came from, by the way. I think it was that's my mom connecting with me. No one here but us chickens. Either mom or dad
Eh,
said that. Well, anyway, this is awesome, Kathy. This is all good. This is all good.
it is good, and you have a point. Why am I looking for another sign? I already had it. So
Well, we want
that
the
gives me
constant,
some.
we want the constant confirmation and reconfirmation. We get sign. We do it all the time. I do it too. Where it's like, okay, I know you told me, a week ago Thursday, but what have you been doing lately? Come on, God, come on, give me another one. Show me.
Right. Well, I when I started after this happened, and I was like, "What is this? I've never heard of anything like this before." And I got on the computer, started googling, and I'm like, "Oh, this is a thing." But most of what I hear about are near death experiences. I don't hear much about other people's dreams. So, that's definitely something I'd like to find out more about at some point.
Thanks, Kathy. One dream. Granted, a rather powerful one when mom steps out of the light and makes herself known, and at the same time is saying hello to her father. And boy, pretty obvious, right? Pretty obvious. And just that kind of power that brought Kathy back to her faith. It's all real. It's all for you. And in a world where it's kind of scary to evangelize, the easiest way is just to tell stories. My story, your story, and just say, this is what happened to me, and this is why I believe. So, that always leads to, what's your story? You haven't told me your story yet. Where have you been? Angel stories, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. What is it for you? Let me know here at touchedbyheaven.net. Remember, Medjugorje pilgrimage.life. It is filling up fast. So if you're interested in going to Medjugorje with my wife, Elizabeth, and I at the end of May, you need to go to their website, Medjugorje, Medjugorje. Medjugorjepilgrimage.life. Aaron Chrysler is going to lead the way again to the Queen of Peace, where Mary has been appearing every day since 1981. We're staying with Maria, one of those that she's been appearing to every day. We'll be staying at her place. And it's just a peaceful place. So if you're interested at all, just get the information for right now. Put in the word Trapper as you sign up for your information. And that way, that's the secret code, That's the secret sauce. Thanks for your help on Patreon, patreon.com, or here at episode 247. Click through, and I'll see you next week here at Touched by Heaven, Everyday Encounters with God. This is Trapper Jack reminding you, wherever you are listening, come as you are.
Well, I usually comb my hair, so we're good.
Well,